I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to merge everything now to the one and how to work that out. So,
all right, works for me, man.
All right, perfect. So we are recording. You can start whenever you want.
Hi, and welcome to Rate That Album, a podcast where me, Joe Fremming, and my buddy, Paul Muad'Dib, we choose an album every week, any album we want, much like the Joe Down and Cast That movie from which we come, and we review it. How you doing, Paul?
Feeling good. Not as good as GameStop, but I'm feeling good.
Oh, yeah, well, I mean...
Good on them. By the way, you could probably tell when we recorded this by the time it comes up.
All right. So this week I picked a rather kind of a unconventional album. It's an album by a duo of a hip hop indie producer and indie rocker from Super Furry Animals, Boom Bip and Gruff Rhys, called Neon Neon. And the album we are reviewing is called Stainless Style, a concept album about John DeLorean. Now, Paul, before we dig into it, because, one, John DeLorean has a fascinating tale.
Oh, yes, he does.
Before we start digging in, what are some of your first observations of Neon Neon? Okay,
so I had no business liking this as much as I did. This blew me away. This album blew me away. I'm so glad you recommended it. I have a lot to say about when we get into it, but let me just say that I like this probably more than you expected me to.
Here's the thing. So I'll kind of get. So what happened is this album blew me away when it came out, and I had no idea what it was. I believe I had just started working at the Electric Fetus. I knew of Boom Bip from his hip hop stuff, like stuff I'd listened to, more of the indie hip hop stuff, like with the Anticon guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I really had no idea about Super Furry Animals. My buddy at the Fetus, he's like, "Have you listened to the Neon Neon album?" I'm like, "What's that?" he hands me the promo. He's like, "Just put these on the headphones." And I start listening to it. And I was like, "Holy shit!" Like, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
It's 1980s cocaine fueled synth pop that feels like it would be perfect soundtrack to Grand Theft Auto Vice City.
Okay, you're gonna say that. As soon as I played this, the first track especially reminded me of when you start a movie and it was the music that showed off the weird production company, like if it was Canon or like if it was whatever. Like, this is it rolled into one. Like, I immediately went back and started just having flashbacks of all, like, watching a movie and seeing all the different production companies that were in place at the time, and the music that went along with it. I'm like, this just fits right in.
Yeah, there's a couple weird things about this album. One, it was like a side project from two guys who kind of had careers like in music, but nothing that sounds like this. Two is like they got together, not intending to make what Gruff Rhys calls like a mid-1980s synth pop album.
Mm-hmm.
They just kind of like, and then three, it's a concept album based on the life of John DeLorean. Now, if you don't know who John DeLorean is,
oh boy,
he is an interesting guy. He was one of the youngest upstarts in General Motors, founder of the DeLorean Motor Company, which after it had gone out of business, into liquidation, their car, which was not really well regarded, becomes an iconic pop culture thing with the Back to the Future movies.
Yes. I know a lot.
Back to the Future comes out, John DeLorean gets caught up in a $1 billion cocaine ring, in which he's acquitted.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a wild story. Like he is entrapment. He got out on entrapment on a cocaine thing.
Correct.
He was a scheme to sell 220 pounds of cocaine, estimated at $24 million.
Yes. So, I know a little bit about John DeLorean because I went down this really crazy rabbit hole with that. So I could kind of explain what was going on there if you want me to get more detail on that. Otherwise, we could skip it.
Well, I think people, if they want it, the information is readily available.
Yeah.
This is just kind of a backdrop because it's an unconventional topic to make a concept album out of. And there's like some very specific references to his life.
Yes.
On these songs. We'll get into it, but like one is Michael Douglas because John DeLorean had a friendship with Michael Douglas. Raquel, about his alleged affair with Raquel Welch.
Yep.
So yeah,
This is an album that was there was definite nods there. I'm like, I get what you're getting at. Now, the one thing I will say that I'll get to that when I get to my pluses and negatives. So keep going, Joe.
All right. So this comes out in 2008. Like I said, I'm floored by it. And this just like randomly came up while I was trying to figure out albums for us to discuss, and I had not listened to this in quite a while. So I kind of wanted to revisit it for this. And so here we are. So Paul, let's I dropped the ball on you with this last week. What were your first thoughts when I said concept album about John DeLorean by Indie?
So honestly, I was thinking, okay, we're getting into some prog rock here.
Well, this sounds like Pink Floyd's 80s prog.
Yeah, I mean,
except done well.
Yeah, but I didn't expect synth pop. Let me put it that way. I was expecting something along the lines of, because I looked at the year it came out, and like I said, I got the bonus, I listened to the bonus version. I was thinking along the lines of like Dream Theater is really what came to my mind. Like that, I thought that's what I was walking into. Immediately, the first song, I was like, whoa, this went in a completely different direction than I thought.
Yeah. So let's start off with what is working for this album, and then we'll do top tracks and move on.
Yeah.
What's for me? What works? Well, I'll let you go first since I'm introducing this album to you. I just dropped this on you.
Yeah, because you've listened to this for years. So for me, okay, best way I can describe this album is if you watch Revenge of the Nerds, at the end when they do the song, the important song at the climax of the movie, really, it's like if they went on and made an album. This is like Lamar and God, what the hell were their names in all their names? Booger and all the whole team went in. Robert Carradine and Anthony went on to do make actual album. There is something completely magical about this album. I mean, it sounds like they took from Oingo Boingo. It sounds like they took from Peter Gabriel. I mean, I can even hear some Churches in there for modern music. Like, this is where Churches got some of their sound for sure. Like, there is a lot that is going on here, and it is produced well.
Yeah, and that kind of goes to my pros is it's the way it kind of seamlessly all works. It feels kind of proggy, but not really. It feels like Oingo Boingo and Robert Palmer made a concept album.
Yes. Thank you. I could not put my name on. I'm like, I've heard that. Who does this? It's Robert Palmer. Yes.
Yeah. It's kind of like the vocal. So like the production, I just love it. Because it has like that 80s vibe. Like it's just unmistakable. But it also has like these like modern like hip hop beats layered into it. The keyboard work, like the synthesizers and the drumming, like it's an album. Like if it came out in the 80s, I think I probably would have hated. Because of how, but it's like it's more of an homage to that, and it works.
Are you familiar with the Teen Titans?
Yes.
Okay, so or Teen Titans Go.
Yep.
Okay, so there's that song that they did. It's called "The Night Begins to Shine" by BER. Yeah, it nailed. Like, that's an homage to the '80s, but like done as a joke. This is done lovingly, I think.
Yeah, it's another thing too. Like, this could have gone full on parody, but it doesn't, and it's like there are like some jokey elements to it. Sweatshop would probably be the
Sweatshop
sticks out the most. But it just seems like, they obviously put a lot of effort into it, and like they researched John DeLorean pretty good to like be able to reference like elements of his life.
Yeah, this was fantastic. So all right, go on, Joe. What about your thoughts?
So the production all around, I love it. And then again, it was such a weird album because, again, this was like a side album that became bigger than what these two were doing before. Like, at least in the circles I know, like Neon Neon's more well known than what these guys did outside of Neon Neon. And it's another interesting thing.
I was just gonna say, the only reason why I knew of Super Furry Animals was because as you know, I've referenced this on several of the podcasts, DJ'd for KBSC and listened to KBSC. That's the only reason, which was, I should say, for our audience, that was the college station. And that was the only place I heard them ever.
Yeah. And so, because that's where you're only going to really hear indie bands outside of like record stores and people's houses, is, local college stations. And I had heard probably a track or two from them. So I was more familiar with Boom Bip just because, again, I was more in tune with like the indie hip hop of the early 2000s. So in 2008, so this comes along and I'm just like, what in the world? Like, it just like drops, and it's just like, this should be more popular than it is. Like, another time I felt like that is when an album called Banks and Steels, and it's like the lead singer of Interpol with a member of the Wu-Tang Clan.
Holy shit! All right,
they had like a indie rock hip hop hybrid album, and it's fantastic. And then like I started listening, I was like, why are not more people talking about this?
Wow. So, yeah. No, I didn't know about either of those two things, this band or that one.
Yeah. So let's talk about the tracks that work, Paul. I'll let you go first. The ones that like highlight for you.
So honestly, I was listening to this thing all the way through. And again, I'm listening to the bonus version. So let me pull that up here real quick, because there are like remixes and things like that. Excuse me.
There's one unreleased track.
Yes.
Mr. Right.
Yes. So in listening to all this, Neon Theme hooked me right away. Like the original one hooked me. Really, honestly, the ones I didn't like were Luxury Pool and Michael Douglas.
Yes. Those are the two I don't like either. Yeah.
Other than that, this album is amazing front to back.
Yeah. It just feels like those two songs slow it down. At the end.
Yeah. They really do. And I mean, I'm listening, now they give me Dream Cars. I heard in the way that order is done, I got the remix of it first before the original. Same thing with I Lust You. I got the remix instead of the original first. But my God, those two songs are amazing. I after Luxury Pool, and I was like, oh, okay, now this is going to be where the album bottoms out, And then you got Stainless Style, and I was like, okay, it's coming back up. Then Michael Douglas, and I was like, and then it ends up with Raquel, at least on my version. I was like, wow, that's amazingly strong.
So on the actual album, the last three tracks are Michael Douglas, Luxury Pool, and then Stainless Style.
Okay.
So ideally, like to make this album like a solid, near perfect, if you cut out Douglas and Luxury Pool and just have Belfast going to Stainless Style, damn near perfect album.
I would say it damn near perfect album. Like, yeah. Like, I would give it I'd give it a 9.5 without those two songs in there. Totally. And even with those songs in there, I'd give it a 9.
Yeah. No, it's a solid album. So I'm going to talk about so the tracks that I really like are really like top heavy on the album. It's because track number 2 is Dream Cars.
Yep.
Goes into I Told Her on Alderaan.
That's
into
a great
Raquel.
one.
Into Trick or Treat. That's like bam, bam, bam of like awesome. But like Dream Cars, I think is just such a it's just like one of those. It just feels like a Robert Palmer like lost hit. Like
yeah, it does. It really, really does. And again, like I was trying to think of, I'm like, man, there's Robert. I mean, I couldn't think of the name, but there was Robert Palmer there. There was some
Huey Lewis in the News kind of stuff.
Huey Lewis. There was Peter Gabriel with Stainless Style in my mind. That was like a Gabriel kind of filler song or something.
Yeah. And it also feels like a lot of like there's even the cheese of the post Gabriel Genesis in here. Too,
yes.
Which like I'm not a huge fan of, but like it works here for me.
It does. And again, though, I also was hearing even modern music. Like I said, I could hear the Churches in there, and who I really, really like. I know I shouldn't, but I do. They're really, really catchy, and I love the double hooks that they do. And so there was some like there are things in here that I can hear that I don't want to say was even taken from them because they took it from the 80s, but I think there was there's a lot of people in here, like Harmar and, like a lot of people involved in this. So I'm thinking like, much like Paul's Boutique, this was like an album for musicians.
Well, I'd also say Melissa, I'm going to butcher her name.
Aftamore?
Aftamore. That was also like a musician's type album too.
Mm-hmm.
Because she had this kind of like, I feel like it kind of blends both of the other two albums we've discussed in regards of like, music for people who enjoy more like deep dives into music and styles and genres and kind of dissecting things a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's like even the pop culture, like weird rap, like I Told Her on Alderaan, which we all know Alderaan is Princess Leia's doomed planet from A New Hope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was like, that's an odd, like, I kind of, I will be honest, the one thing that was lost on me, getting into a little bit of the negatives now, was the fact that in a concept album, I like to know the lyrics, and it was very difficult to catch the lyrics in a lot of what was going on here. Yeah. With the production. But it didn't matter because it just sounded so good. It's like a Radiohead album. I don't need to know what Tom York's saying because I just am going to enjoy Tom York saying it.
Yeah. And some of the lyrics are pretty just like, I'll go back to Trick or Treat. She got me dreaming like a Michigan boy in Hollywood. That could sum up John DeLorean's life right there.
Right. And I did love the Sweatshop song because that totally clicked, like knowing who John DeLorean is, like, and knowing how he got some of his stuff done. I'm like, yeah, that's a shot at John DeLorean right there.
Sweatshop. Okay, let's talk about Sweatshop a bit because that's kind of like there's other elements here because it's like when this album came out, rappers were starting to their own clothing line, and some of them were found out to be sweatshop work.
Yes.
So they're boasting it. So I think that's also like a critique on that element of popular music too.
There is, but what happened? Why I think it's more about DeLorean getting into DeLorean a little bit was because a lot of people don't know he moved the plant to Ireland because he got paid by the Northern Ireland Development Agency, part of the government, to produce there, which employed over 2,000 workers at its peak production. But they weren't getting paid dick for doing it. So, and it was a major loss to Ireland, and eventually it was seized, and I think it was 1983. It was liquidated and seized in order to make back some of the money, because it was basically a sweatshop. Like, he had this idea he was going to build this amazing, awesome car, and he sold all of his scruples away and was making it on the fucking cheap.
Yeah, it's funny, like, how, like, and this guy is a little off topic, but we have been known to do that.
Yes.
Podcast. A lot of people, like, we have, like, these fond memories of the DeLorean, I think, because it's in what I consider the perfect movie trilogy of Back to the Future. And I'll fight anybody who wants to question me on that. But those three movies are goddamn perfect. Mm-hmm. But it also, that rosy tint is, forget, like, the DeLorean was a piece of shit.
Yes. So we'll go a little bit on a tangent here, because what it was John DeLorean, you brought it up a little bit. He was working for GM.
Yep, General Motors. Michigan boy.
Yeah, Michigan boy. And he asked to be put in the Pontiac division. And he is responsible for the resurgence of the muscle car and, like, the Pontiac and all these things, and building that up. I mean, to give you an idea, he was one of the most highly paid people, but he was really, really fucking eccentric. And he then went over, GM moved him to the Chevy, and he helped make the Chevy what it was. And then he realized, I just got to do my own thing. And because he was trying to get this DeLorean done, the stainless steel car that was supposed to be like his whole plan was to make, like, this super safe, super American car, and and stop being wasteful and things of that nature. But when he wanted to do this, his luck started to kind of run out, or that magic touch he had ran out, and nobody would invest in. Basically, when he left GM, they cut everyone off from him. Like, they made sure that no one was going to work with him, because he was going against the big guy, and that made him then go to Ireland for whatever, because they were going to pay him to do it. And yeah, I mean, people don't know this, but there was an ad for a 24 karat gold plated DeLorean at one point. Yeah. Sorry, I had to get into that tangent a little bit. Sorry.
No, I think, and what I like, so kind of like to bring, he's an eccentric guy who fell in, like, weird things, and it just feels fitting that an album that sounds like this is about him.
Yeah, like this. If you're gonna make an album, I mean, about John DeLorean, this is the album that you make about John DeLorean.
And again, like, people have to remember, like, by the time Back to the Future comes out, there's no more DeLoreans being made.
No.
It's liquidated. It's done.
Yeah, it was done. Like I said, I think it was done in 83, and Back to the Future, when it came out, 85, 86. Yeah. Yeah, 85 was Back to the Future.
Yeah.
So they kind of knew that the DeLorean was this, that was part of the joke, was the DeLorean. We didn't know that as kids. We just thought, oh my God, that's a super cool car. But our parents were laughing when they saw it.
Yeah. The doors open upward. That doesn't do anything.
Right? And again, I'm in the same boat with you. Because I was watching, I was the youngest of three. And so, my oldest sister was 9, 10 watching Back to the Future. So I'm 4, 5 watching Back to the Future. And that's just the coolest fucking car I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, why mom and dad, why did you have a fucking DeLorean? Because they don't make it because they suck. You're wrong, mom and dad. That car is awesome.
Yeah, Hollywood made it look a lot cooler than it actually was. It's the reviews when it came out were not very positive.
No, and again though, it came down to that he couldn't get anyone to help on it. So he essentially was running the sweatshop to make it as cheap as possible, to pay the workers as cheap as possible, because he was cut off from everything. And rather than holding off and doing it right, he just went fucking balls deep in and it just goes off the rails from there. Like, that's not the start, people. That's when the rails start to come off.
Yeah, because shortly thereafter, he gets wrangled into entrapment with a multi-million-dollar cocaine distribution.
Yes. By the time it was liquidated, actually, I think it was shortly, a couple months after the liquidation, was when he got nailed for trafficking coke. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So again, to take this guy's, because like the window of his like ultimate insane years is not very long. It's late 70s, 1980 probably until 84, 85. Well, and then he just kind of like, after he's acquitted, and with the exception of Back to the Future, he's pretty much, he doesn't really do much after that.
He didn't, at least publicly. There was a lot going on behind the scenes, or there was a lot of marriage and divorces going on behind the scenes.
Become born again.
Yep, and which they all do. They all become born again. He filed a patent in 1994 for a monorail that was never built. So there was things that DeLorean. I mean. But I
wonder if that monorail episode of The Simpsons is based off of him.
Very well could be, because it never happened. But yeah, real quick, just for the audience, the whole thing with that arrest trial was, and how he got off, was the FBI came to him with 27 kilos of cocaine, which equivalents to, I think, about 65 pounds worth of coke. He didn't seek it out. They went to him knowing that he was financially having problems and was looking at bankruptcy. Yeah. So he was able to say entrapment because he never seeked them out. They called him. They invited him to everything. And he was like, I'm not going to say no.
Yeah.
I'm hard up, man.
Law enforcement learned a lesson with that, that you can't, when you entrap somebody like that, it's also a weird tidbit. You remember that Catch a Predator, Chris Hansen stuff?
Yes.
A lot of those creeps got let go because they were contacting these people online.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just like, so they're doing shit wrong, but they're going about the wrong way to catch them.
Yes, and this is the thing. This is why you don't have now, FBI and police a lot of time coming to you to buy drugs. Like, people go, "Are you a cop?" They don't care about you buying a fucking dime bag off of them, or a fucking, they don't give a fuck. It's that they can't go around saying, "Hey, I got 60 fucking pounds of coke. You want to offload it for me?"
Yeah. No, that's it's what they call a boneheaded idea.
Yes. Yeah. So back to the album.
Yeah. So that was those three albums. It's a strong album, and like we said, the down is Luxury Pool and Michael Douglas. I think it's just, I don't know if it's like padding out the album. If you add it up, it's about 8 minutes between those two songs. So
I don't know if it was padding or if it was just like, hey, we've done all this other stuff. Let's experiment with these styles.
Yeah,
is kind of the way was my thought on it.
They're not momentary lapse of reason Floyd bad, but they just don't feel like they mesh well.
No, and I think Because correct me if I'm wrong, but those are the two tracks that have Fat Lip on it.
Fat Lip's on Luxury Pool. Michael Douglas is just.
Was it? Because I thought it was also Fat Lip.
No, he's just on Luxury Pool.
Okay. Because I just wonder if it was those styles. So.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, I don't know. It just felt like it's kind of dragging it out.
Yeah, I don't know. It would have been better without him and just gone right from Belfast to Stainless Steel and be done. Yeah. I completely agree with you. I think, okay, so what are your favorite tracks?
Dream Cars, I love. Mm-hmm. I love Raquel. Mm-hmm. Raquel, I just, for people, it's basically the life story of Raquel Welch in a way.
Yes, it is.
Talking about her Bolivian father, her Irish mother, growing up in Chicago. I don't know if it was ever confirmed that she had a relationship with John DeLorean, but there's a lot of rumors to that effect, hence why there's a song dedicated to her on here.
Yeah.
But it's such a good song. And then, Raquel, Trick or Treat, I like, Harmar Superstar, Minnesota guy. He actually owns a bar, like, a couple miles away from me in Moorhead.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I've never gone there because I don't, if I'm going to go bar hopping, I'm not going to go all the way into Moorhead. But, he's there, he does DJ sets there every now and then. So I'll probably check that out once Voldemort's gone.
Right. So to answer your question about John DeLorean and Raquel Welch, he was hanging around her a lot, and shortly afterwards, he got one of his divorces. So nothing ever came out like officially, but the tabloids and everything were like, he was boning. He was boning Raquel Welch. So yeah.
All the power to him, man. She was a gorgeous woman.
Well, I mean, this guy though, he's did not. I mean, this guy did not date ugly. I mean, he was married to Elise Knox. If you don't know who she is, she was an actress and a model. He was with Christina Fieri, who is a actress and a model. He was with Sally Baldwin. I mean, this guy just.
Yeah. So those songs. I Lust You. I really like.
Yeah, I really like I Lust You. I think that's one of my that and I Told Her on Alderaan, I think are my two favorite.
Yeah, it's just like such good, catchy pop songs through the lens of John DeLorean and 80s homage. It's just, it's a weird album.
It is.
It's good, but it's really weird when you try to explain it.
Yeah, because we talk about all different influences in it, but there's so much more. You know what I mean? Like, yes, we could talk about the 80s, we could talk about the prog, but there's definitely some hip hop sampling going on in here. The amalgamation, I think, is the best way to describe it. It is an amalgamation of genre that doesn't typically work, and this works. I mean, I agree with you. Like, this should have been an album that was like on people's top 10 best albums. How this did not get picked up? I don't know if it was too weird at the time for 2008, because again, from the Church's influence and things like that, this would get played any time if this came out tomorrow.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, I don't remember this being played on KVSC. I would play this when I worked at the Fetus, and it's one of those there's like a few albums when I worked there. Like, if I played it, I would sell at least one copy, sometimes more. Like this album and the first Deer Tick album would be like, just because nobody really knew what that was. Like, they were just kind of like unknown to most people, even like buying indie music.
Yeah.
So like every time I play this, people are like, what the hell is this? This is good.
Yeah. So I want to talk about the Fetus a little bit if we can.
Sure.
For our audience, because so you worked at the Fetus, and you worked there. Yeah, was that after we graduated from high school?
Yeah, this was 2008 to 2010.
Okay,
it was like I was going to college when I was working there. So it wasn't like a full-time job. Before that, I worked at CD Warehouse.
I remember you at CD Warehouse, yes.
Another record store in St. Cloud. Both are gone now, but
both are gone.
Yeah,
both are gone. So, when is your earliest recollection of going to the Electric Fetus, as it was called?
My dad would take me sometimes. He wasn't a big fan of the paraphernalia stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like the first time was when I was like of age to like buy music or whatever. Like when I was more finding my own stuff, was like me, our mutual friend Matt.
Okay.
He and I would go to the Fetus to like buy. When we're at I think we're like 13. Like you're at that age where you're just kind of like discovering music outside your parents in a sense, or whatever's on the radio. So that's it. Yeah. I remember just kind of going there and like poking around. And then when I got older, like I went there to like buy like weird Pink Floyd imports. It's where I found like the mono version of Piper at the Gates of Dawn.
Oh, yes.
It's like a European import, and most people couldn't even get it until like 2010 when they re-released it. It was just like a weird. So like I'd find like weird random stuff. So yeah, I miss record stores like the Fetus, but
I wholeheartedly miss the the record stores like the Fetus. So there was a store growing up, my mom loved going downtown. Way back when there was the Ringer Road. If you remember what that was.
That's back when there wasn't a road right through downtown St. Cloud. It was
right. You had to go around it because it was all this cobblestone thing. Everything was downtown, and my mom hated going all the way out to the mall. So, like, my mom, I get a lot of my sense of humor from my mother, to be totally honest with you. My weird, irreverent, odd, inappropriate humor. There was a store called Tootsie's downtown. It was like a semi-adult, like not quite a pure, not pure pleasure. What's the other one? But anyways, it was like this off-color store where you could get inappropriate gay gifts, like
Spencer's.
Like a Spencer's before there was a Spencer's, yeah. So my mom would go there, and she didn't want me in there. So I would go to the Fetus. I'm a little kid. Like, it's, again, we talked about, kind of how things were around the Jacob Rowling time. So my mom would take me into the Fetus. And honestly, I was a big fan, controversially, now it shouldn't have been, of Bill Cosby. So I would go in and I would look at comedy albums, like Bill Cosby and Weird Al and things like that, because I was too young to kind of understand some of the music that was going on at the time. And then as I got older and my mom taking me there, I started getting into music. And one thing I loved about the Fetus was, much like the library when we were kids, you could take what you wanted, like a movie or a song album, and you could grab headphones and just listen, check it out. So I started, as I think it was about 9, 10, I started grabbing, listening to albums and tapes and things like that. So, and I will never forget the smell of that place either. It had that patchouli hippie smell that just permeated the whole place. And yeah, that place was always really, really cool to me. So I was jealous when I found out that you were working there.
No, working in record stores is fun. It's just, and like it really my few years at the Fetus really expanded my music knowledge, just because it's you meet so many different people who have so much different information about different genres, and so it was a good time.
Before the internet and shopping online, you would have, if there was albums that you couldn't get your hands on, you would have to go to the Electric Fetus and order it.
Yeah.
And I remember the first album I ordered through the Electric Fetus was Flaming Lips Eureka, the 4-disc version.
Oh, yeah. We had to have 4 different stereos.
You had 4 different stereos to listen to it. Yeah. because I couldn't get it online. I wasn't shopping online at the time, and I knew about this album from Rolling Stone, and I was like, I need to get my hands on this album. So I went to the Fetus, and our mutual friend Dan, who doesn't really care for me, by the way, he blocked me on Facebook. I ordered it through Dan.
My first special order from the Fetus wasn't a happy ending. I ordered, it was like 1998, 99. And I was like really into like Syd Barrett solo music. Mm-hmm. So I went to, and I special ordered Opal, which is it was like an album that was released after he had stopped making music with like outtakes and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And they're like, yep. So I put in the special order and I didn't hear from them for like a year. And then I happened to be in the Fetus one day, and lo and behold, there's just on the rack, there's just a copy of Opal.
I wonder if that was your copy.
Well, it was, because I ended up buying it.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. Sometimes, shit happens,
yeah.
Especially back then, like, you'll have to remember, like, I don't even think that, when I did that special order, it was on pencil and paper, because there,
yep,
there was the computer databases for special orders and stuff the technology wasn't there at that.
The technology wasn't there. No, and they give you guys, Zurika came out in 1997, so same boat. Like this was a time where, like, I had to go in there, and I remember signing on like a clipboard to get this album. Yep, writing my name, my phone number, my parents' phone number, and this album. I mean, this was when I was 1997. We would have been sophomores, I think.
Yeah, 97, 98. We were sophomores.
Yep. No, funny story to that. I didn't get to listen to it for years.
Well, you didn't have 4 stereos sitting around?
I didn't. It wasn't until I got an apartment with some other guys that I broke this album out, because I'd forgotten about it. I'd completely forgotten about it. And then Yoshimi came out. And I was like, I got this album hanging out here for years I've never been able to listen to. And I got my buddies together, and we finally were able to get in our apartment 4 different ways to sync it up. Yeah.
That's wild. That was a wild. I remember that coming out and just being like, who has 4 stereos to do that?
Right?
Suffice to say, it wasn't a huge seller.
No, it wasn't a huge seller, but it was wildly ambitious. Yeah. And what's really funny about that is that if I just waited like a year or two, I could have gotten the single version of it, because they eventually just released a single version of it.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to. If you want people to listen to your music, it has to be a little more accessible than having 4 stereos running at once.
Yeah,
but, kudos to that's the thing with it's the ambition. And reeling it back to Stainless Style, I think it was an ambitious album that worked, and
yes,
it doesn't always happen.
No, and again, I'm floored that this is the first time. Like, I'm kind of pissed, honestly, that this is the first time I've heard this album. It's been out for 12 years, and like not one like top 500, top 100 albums, anything. Has this come across anything on my radar? So, Paul, now we're at the end. Would you recommend Stainless Style by Neon Neon? Fuck yes. Yes.
Yeah, me too. Listen to this now, people. This is it's it's such a it's like, why do people not know about this more?
Oh God. No, it's not 12 years old. Came out in 2008. So yeah, it's 13 years old now, right?
Yeah, it's just been a 13-year. Yeah, I honestly thought this might have crossed your radar when I suggested it. So
no, and this is like up my fucking alley, like straight up my ass into my brain, like needs to go. Yeah.
Yeah. So people check this one out. It's something else. It's insanely accessible, like musically. Like it's catchy.
It's catchy, and again, it's when you think about how old it is, and when you listen to it now, a lot of people are doing what this album was doing. Like this is the like I said, I don't want to say people ripping off, but this feels like to me the godfather of a lot of bands.
Yeah,
a lot of acts.
It also came out at a time where a lot of these bands that are like more on the radar now is like when they're kind of starting out, and they like kind of ran in similar circles as the people who are worked on this album.
Oh my God, I was looking this up, dude. The drummer for the Strokes was on this.
Yep.
When he was starting out, before he was with the Strokes. Holy shit.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's a weird like indie it's like a collective of people, and it's wild, man. I love this album. I can't believe I hadn't listened to this in probably like 5 or 6 years.
I mean, yeah, the guitarist Josh Klinghoffer for the Red Hot Chili Peppers was on this thing.
Yeah. Yes, he was.
This is insane.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a who's who of before they were anybody.
Before they were anybody. Yeah.
It's weird to think that Harmar was probably the only like kind of known person, and like that's the only reason I think I knew of Harmar is just because Sean Tillman's like played St. Cloud so often.
That's how I know Harmar was, because they used to play St. Cloud all the time.
Yeah, I mean, but still. But yeah, so I think we've talked Stainless Style, Paul. What do we have? What's our next album? You're up to bat.
I am up to bat. So the next album is a very recent album, and I mentioned the band earlier. We are going to do American Head by the Flaming Lips, which came out September 11th of 2020. So this is a brand fuck new album we're going to be talking about. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for that. I listened to it when it first came out, and then I just haven't gotten back to it. So, and Flaming Lips is like that with me. Like they'll release an album, I'll listen to it, and then I'll slowly start going back to it, over time. The only two of theirs that like immediately hit me would be Soft Bulletin and Yoshimi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Yoshimi was a great one. Zurika was a great one to me, because again I had that one. Mystics was. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it next week.
I do have like in case you haven't heard it, they did release. Where is it? They did the Soft Bulletin in its entirety at Red Rocks with the Colorado Symphony with them. And it's a really good live album. It came out like a year or two ago. So,
ooh, yeah, they've put out like 13 studio albums, I think they're at now, and like a shit ton of live albums. Like,
yeah, and then they do the covers album. They did that cover of Dark Side of the Moon and Sgt. Pepper.
Yes, I have both. So yeah, Flaming Lips is another one of those bands that like has always been on the fringe, and I've never understood why they've never been accepted mainstream. Yeah.
I mean, it's weird because I think after Do You Realize, they kind of got a little more accepted.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
They toured with Beck.
Yep.
I believe the Sea Change tour.
Which is one of my
favorite backup band, I think, on that too.
I didn't know that. That's absolutely.
They did
awesome.
Like at least a radio show with him where they're his backup band, and they do like some of the songs from Sea Change with a fuller band sound, which was really good. I had that on bootleg. We're getting off the tracks here.
We are, but yeah. So we'll be digging into next week. The Flaming Lips American Head, and probably digging into the Flaming Lips a little bit as well. So,
yeah. And if you haven't listened to it yet, when that album came out, Wayne Coyne did an episode of WTF with Mark Maron, and it's really interesting. So I would highly suggest people listen to that. He kind of talks a little bit about some of the songs from American Head and how it was influenced from things in his life. So yeah, it's a really good listen.
Awesome. I'll definitely check that out. So yeah, so that's what we're going to do. So Joe, what's going on at the Joedown?
This week we're releasing our review of Birdman. I just haven't popped it up on the site yet. It's the Michael Keaton vehicle.
Yep.
I liked it. I had no idea what it was about. I just remember when it came out. So, and after that, we're going back to the Travolta well. Paul, we're doing Look Who's Talking next week.
Oh, God. Okay. Real quick, did you know that they are working on a reboot of Look Who's Talking, and that John Travolta and Kirstie Alley are lobbying to be in it?
You know, that's a thing that happened, I guess.
So
Scientology must be hurting for money.
We talked about this. I can't remember which episode it was on the Weird News for Casting News. I sprung this on Jode, who was really upset hearing about this news.
I'm just upset they're just rebooting everything, and I mean, it's not like, I mean, who's fucking nostalgic for Look Who's Talking? Like, what's the audience?
I'm bringing this up a little bit because I just have to, because I remember this story. So, fucking Kirstie Alley said, John and I, we really want to do it. We think it'd be funny that we're the grandparents. Our kids will be ugly so that we'll still be the stars, but the grandkids can be really cute. Like she is wanting to be about her and John. I mean, Kirstie Alley doesn't have anything going on other than fucking stumping for Trump right now anyways. But that's like legitimately her idea that when she heard about the reboot, she went on, one of those daytime talk shows and said this on the talk. She went on the talk.
She wants the kids to be like, has she looked in a mirror? She looks like she got hit in the face with a fucking baseball bat.
Well, okay. Okay. I understand we don't like her. I will say that she definitely has that alcoholic face. Like, she has that bloated, like my dad had that face towards the end of his life. Kirstie Alley has that alcoholic's face. Like, this is someone who was cirrhosis of the nth degree. But this is what she said. Yep, I literally quoting her. John and I, we both really want to do it. We think it's funny that we're the grandparents, that our kids will be ugly so that we'll still be the stars, but the grandkids can be really cute. So she wants to be about, like, the kids get dropped off with her and John, and, that's the story. Now, what may be pissing her off is that they're going with the diversive cast instead.
Whatever. She talks out of her ass all the time, so I guess just don't reboot it, and if you do, like, don't put her in it. Like,
no, honestly, like, recently the director said, hey, one of the challenges we had was that Travolta and Kirstie Alley had great chemistry, and that the script was really great. So I'm just telling you, I mean, this is what the new team's saying. So, we're in the early stages of figuring out what the story is for the modern version of the movie. But I don't think that it's gonna do. Yeah. Joe, I know we're way off topic. Did you know there was a ABC spin-off series called Baby Talk?
That's enough. I've had enough of this conversation. All right, What's going on with you, Paul?
So as we talked about last episode, some changes are coming down with the with Cast That Movie. So I am got the 2 new co-hosts on board. So I'm pleased for that. They have agreed to do. We're actually going to change it up. We are going to do Waterworld, but we decided that for the dream projects, that was really Scott's baby and idea, and I don't want to take that away, and do that. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to look at books, cartoons, TV shows, and cast them as movies instead. So the first one's going to be, if we did a live action version of Hey Arnold, who would we cast?
Oh, nice. Although
yes.
I'm missing, a lot of potential for a dream project of the film version of the album Stainless Style.
And that could be it too. Like, we could do a concept album, whatever we want to do. But I want to get away from like the pulp culture, like the really important historical things, because that's really what Joe's side of Cast That Movie came from.
All right.
So we'll be doing a recast and tearing apart of Waterworld. Just to give you a fair warning, we'll be diving a little bit more into, I think, Joe Down territory. Not going through line by line of what went wrong by it, but just pointing out, like, again, we really avoided the plot of the movies, saying how we assume that people just saw these fucking movies and realizing that they're terrible pieces of shit. People didn't. So we'll be talking a little bit about the plot and then just digging into little things that pissed us off about the movie, not getting full into your territory and taking it, scene by scene or important piece by important piece, but rather something on the lines of, why the fuck does nobody have a name in Waterworld? Why is he just the mariner? And like, what is going, like, yeah, we'll talk about the laziness of it a little bit, that type of thing.
Cool.
And then you're going to be joining us soonish. I'm working out where Griffiny can get back doing the podcasts. But on the Stranger Things podcast for episode 4, correct?
Yep, I'll be popping in the middle of the seasons and then the last of the seasons.
Yep, which I think is going to be awesome, because then we can kind of get your take on what you think's gone on up to this point, and then bring you back in and go, what did you think of the season as a whole?
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I brought back the Weird News, which is currently on Facebook. So if you're not familiar with that, this is something I'll do every Saturday night. From 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. I used to do it daily. You know all about it, but it'll be Saturday nights where I'll be doing the Weird News. It's on Facebook right now. I'm trying to figure another place to put it, but right now I have like 2,000 followers on, I have 2,000 friends and like 3,000, 4,000 followers on Facebook right now. So that's where most of my audience is. But I want to move it somewhere else. I'm just not sure where yet.
Okay.
So that's what we got going on.
Yep. We are also in the preliminary stages of a spin-off of Bears Beats bobbleheads.
Yes, we are.
We're going to be starting that soon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be bringing Paul to Pawnee, Indiana. We will be doing a Parks and Rec.
Which I have never seen.
Which he has never seen. And it's going to be a lot like Bears Beats. I am a huge Parks and Rec fan. I am more of a fan of Parks and Rec than I am The Office. Parks and Rec is the spiritual cousin to The Office, in that it was created by the people who created The American Office. So, yeah. To be determined, but yeah, that's what we have coming up in the pike for that.
I'm looking forward to this. I am really looking forward to this. Because I'll be honest again. Well, I'll bring it up when we do the episode again, but I don't watch sitcoms. So all these sitcoms I've avoided for years. Just because I don't prefer the situational comedy format. So yeah, I am excited to get into this because I had a lot of fun with the Bears Beats and Bobbleheads. Actually, more fun than I thought I was going to have.
And that'll be coming back at some point. So
it will be coming
that's
back.
Not dead in the water, people.
That is not dead in the water. That is not dead in the water.
This is just us getting our weird ass comedy fix in until Bears and Beats comes back, in a sense.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I am super excited to do this though. Because I want to keep doing that. So yeah, I mean, basically, we have a full plate of podcasts going on. I mean, and I know I got to get everything up on the site. I guess I'll let the audience also know we are going to be condensing everything down to one podcast source rather than having a separate one for this one and this one and this one. We're going to be consolidating them all into one. Yeah. So I'll migrate everything over at some point, and when I make that migration, all these podcasts that have been kind of sitting on the shelf are going to come out as like a flood. You guys are going to have like a flood of good shit. So yeah. All right. Well, other than that, dude, what do you got? Take us out.
Paul, I got you dreaming like a Michigan boy in Hollywood. I got you doing all you can.
Perfect. All right.